Hey guys, welcome to the Hop. We're not quite bouncing yet. Nah, I'm just playing. This is the first episode of our mini-series where we are interviewing people that are involved in the basketball community, but aren't necessarily the players. It'll be fun. To kick things off, we have Archie Padley joining us, a 21-year-old high-flying dunker. Archie, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me on to you. I'm looking at your past guests. You know, you got like Olympians, you got people who play the highest level. So I'm glad to be able to sit in that company.
Well, let's start off like your dunking journey. Can you walk us through like how you started in the dunking world?
I guess like if you really wanted to take it back, it would go back to 2016 contest for the NBA. I remember watching Levine and Aaron Gordon just go like back to back to back. And that night, me and my friends were just like, we went in the backyard, put the rim down, dunked for like 3 hours. And for them, that was just like, you know, it's a part of basketball. But from that point on, like I was always just trying to touch the highest thing. I was trying to get the backboard, and then I was like trying to grab the little part that's connected to the ring. I guess like after that, I really just always wanted to jump really high, and I was short. I kind of got a bit of a growth spurt later on, but I was really short. So I was like, if I want to compete at the high levels in basketball, I got to be able to jump. That's probably where it came from.
Well, how old was that, like your first ever dunk?
So I actually got my first ever dunk when I was 17, nearly 18. And it was in a final. It was actually in the warm-ups of a finals game, for my school. And that was like the biggest crowd I'd ever been in front of. It was probably like 200, 300 people playing. I'm not sure if you know like AGSB, like Marcelin and Mentone, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I was hyped up from the crowd and I just threw up a lob. I've been failing at practice for like a long time, but I've been close. And I just went up with two hands off a lob, my first dunk.
Yeah. That's actually sick.
Yeah.
That's actually sick.
And then, the whole crowd was just like chirping me the whole game, like, oh, all you can do is dunk. So I had a bit of like a chip on my shoulder. We still lost that game, but yeah, it is what it is.
No, that's still sick though. That's still sick. Like getting your first dunk as well after like not being able to do it, like in front of everyone as well. That's kind of sick. That's so sick. Well, dunking isn't just a skill in basketball. It's also become kind of a sport of its own.
Absolutely.
Can you shed some like light on the sport of dunking?
Yeah, for sure. I think like I first saw it as its own sport when I watched Dunk League. There's 3 seasons of that. And that's when I saw the guys like Guy Dupuis and John Kilgannon and Isaiah Rivera. So that was my first exposure to like, okay, dunking's not just, it's not just a part of basketball, but you can just do it as its own thing. And I think like I carried on playing, rep basketball until under 21s, but at one point I just realized I was better at dunking by itself than I was at basketball. And I was having more fun dunking. So I was just like, all right, I'll take a year off and just, take it seriously. That really happened like during COVID. Like there was a lockdown period where I just went in my backyard because I'm lucky enough to have enough room and a hoop. I just dunked like 5 times a week, 6 times a week. Like sometimes it'd be at full height. Sometimes it'd be on like 8 foot, 9 foot. And I would just dunk for hours, like maybe practice in the morning, some low room stuff, and then try it later on in the afternoon. And I can't do that now, because it's stupid, but when you're not getting knee pain or you're not getting any sort of injuries from it, yeah, that's the fastest way to improve your vert.
Because I've heard a lot of stories of people like saying like that COVID and lockdown was like when they kind of like trained a lot. Like, would you say like that was kind of like the period where you're like, damn, like.
Absolutely. Yeah. After COVID, we came out of like one of the last lockdowns and I'm like, all right, I'm going to take this seriously. And I searched up Isaiah Rivera was the guy that I was watching a lot of, and his program was THB strength. So I hopped on that, and I just was like, all right, I'm going to do 3 months. I won't miss a workout. And yeah, my vert after that, combined with all the dunking I was doing, just skyrocketed over 3 months. Like I went from just being able to do like nice one-handers off a lob to, all right, I got my first 360. I got my first like reverse pump. I was able to go off the backboard easily. Like that period of 3 months, I just was hitting new dunks, I want to say almost every week. It was a crazy period of time, just locked in with my training.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. So you're a THP athlete. So for people who don't know what that is, like explain to them real quick what that means.
Yep. So John Evans and Isaiah Rivera, they have a coaching program. It's more like just coaching because it's continuous. It's not like a set program you do and finish. But there's probably like started off with maybe 200 of us when I was on there, and now I think they got like 1,000 people or something ridiculous. But yeah, when I was there, and there's other really top guys on it like Dom Dunks. I'm not sure if you've seen that guy. He's like this little Filipino, 5'8", and he just flies. Him and Travis Dunk. So I always looked at them
Yeah.
as like they were my competition. So yeah, that THB. If you're a THB athlete, it just means you trained under John Evans and Isaiah Rivera.
What? So you watched Isaiah Rivera like before, and then how did you kind of just like decide you wanted to do that?
I think like I was seeing other guys on the program, and it like there was a kind of unanimous thing that it was really expensive, especially for me at the time. I was like 19 and I was a student, so like I didn't have that much money, so it was a big financial commitment for me. But I was like, I'll put in the work and I'll put in like the money and just let's see how it goes for 3 months. And after the results I got, I was like, I've been with them ever since. So yeah, it's been
Yeah,
like
yeah,
two
that's
and a
it.
half years. One of my big goals with dunking is to grow a community in Melbourne. And I'm not sure if you've seen like we got at the Melbourne Dunk Squad on Instagram, and you know we've grown and we've had sessions with up to like there's 40 people in our group, and we've had sessions with like 10 people before. Like to get that many people organized at one half court to dunk for
Yeah.
2 hours is like that was my dream for
Mm.
Melbourne, and you know we make that happen fairly often. But yeah, there's three other guys mainly that I in Melbourne that were THP athletes. One of them was Dan Dunk's Liam Broad. They still are. And then Steve, he was a Jump X, which is like an Australian um, program. But yeah, those are the guys I used to go to Saturdays every Saturday with them and jump. Yeah, and we just push each other.
Oh, I feel like it's always good to have competition as well because you guys like boost each other up, and it's
Absolutely.
like friendly rivalry.
Or it's like, who's gonna hit the East Bay first this session, or like
Mm. Hmm.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Or if he's gonna do that, all right, watch me, I'll go do it after you, sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Well, I've heard you faced some injuries along the way. How have you managed to overcome those setbacks, both physically and mentally? And how did you kind of get back to dunking at your best?
My injuries have been the biggest roadblocks between my progress. So my first one was I got my first dunk when I was 17, but over that, like finishing year 12, going into the next year, I was playing like footy at lunchtime, and my ankle just slipped off a tackle. I broke my
Damn.
fibula and ruptured three ligaments in my ankle. So yeah, I that was a bit of a lengthy recovery process, like 3 months just to get back walking. And then after that, like I just locked in with my rehab, made sure I just want to play basketball again. But yeah, I think that's always been a big motivating factor for me is like coming back from that injury was really tough. So I know like whatever's ahead of me, like I can get through those sort of challenges. And
Mhm.
surely enough, it happened again. Like I had some dislocations to my right shoulder. So I had to get reconstructive surgery on that earlier last year in April. And that took me almost like longer. Like that took me 8, 9 months to be dunking properly again.
Damn, man.
You know, and it's hard because I'm seeing all those guys and I'm competing with still improving and not getting any injuries. And it's like, all right, well, you realize you're running your own race with, you know, your injuries and your progress. Like it's good to have the competitive side, but if that's all you're worried about, it's hard to get through injuries. So, you know, my first dunk back from those injuries is almost more of an achievement than when I'm at my peak performance. So yeah,
Yeah, that's what that was going to be my next question. Like, how was that feeling when you've got your first dunk after, like,
yeah,
you've recovered?
yeah, it's massive.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, I mean, you put in so much work not being able to see like the results and just trust that like the consistency of doing the little things every single day, uh, will lead to it paying off. And, you know, yeah, surely enough, it does in the end.
yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. Well, a common thing for basketball players and dunkers is getting knee pain.
Mm.
What's your advice for athletes facing knee pain?
So my big thing with knee pain is it's a bit like I got explained to me once that it's like a thermostat. Like if you're jumping too much, the thermostat's going to get hot and it's going to go higher. So if you just over jump and you keep raising the heat, you're going to get injured. So you kind of want to ride it where like, you're not jumping way too often to the point where, you know, you're putting loads of load on. So you just want to like, it's all about balancing it out. And then obviously there's things like isometrics where you just hold your knee in an extension position, for like 45 seconds for 3 sets. Then you've got slow squats, just like 4 by 6 rep sets of slow, 4 seconds down, 4 seconds up, just going through the movement slowly. Just putting that tendon under, like time under tension on the tendon. And then, yeah, those are the main things that I did to help, just ward off knee pain. And really, my knee pain hasn't been a big factor ultimately. Like, mainly it's been my shoulder and my ankle. But I would say ultimately sign up to THB Strength. Like, I don't get anything off saying that. That's literally what I did. And yeah, John fixed my knee pain. So
You heard it here first. For someone at the start of their dunking journey, how would you recommend they get their first dunk?
their first dunk. So the way I'd recommend that is, you put the rim down to the height where you can only just dunk. Whether that's 8 feet, say you're like 12 and you're only, 5 foot tall, or, put it down to the height where you can dunk. And your goal, and I did this from 14 to 18. This is all I did, plus some plyometrics. Then you just wind it up to the next height where you can't really get it. Come back the next day, mark, and I had a pen, or like a Sharpie. And you know how on the hoops you can wind them up, and I would mark off where I got my last dunk. And so then I would put it up, mark it off, put it up, mark it off. And yeah, eventually I would just try dunk off 2 feet and 1 foot. And I'd have separate like colored markers for that. That's just how I did it. Get my first dunk.
Well, like sidetrack off that question though, are you a 1 foot dunker or a 2 foot dunker?
Yeah, I'm like almost entirely a 2 foot dunker now. But when I was younger, I jumped like almost predominantly off my left foot. But yeah, some guys can handle it, but I just find if I do 2 feet, I can get more jumps in a session. And it just sort of suited, like, my jump comes from power. Some guys get their vertical from speed. So yeah, most of my power, I'm a power jumper. So yeah, 2 foot's way better for that.
Yeah, and using double the strength.
Yeah, well,
well.
and yeah, I don't know. My technique just works better off 2 feet as well. So
Yeah, that's true. Do you want to kind of get into some quick fire questions? I think there's
yeah, but all right.
What's your favorite dunk to do?
Favorite dunk, East Bay for sure.
East Bay. Hardest dunk you've ever done?
Behind the back 360, and I did that on like 9 foot 9 and like 3/4. So haven't done it on a full regulation, but yeah, that's probably the hardest dunk I've ever done.
Damn, no, that sounds pretty hard to be honest. Who's the best dunker in the world in your opinion?
Well, it's pretty hard. I would say between Isaiah Rivera and John Kilgannon. It's any given day with those two. But then there's also for 1 foot, it's Jordan Sutherland, and it's not really close to the second person.
If you could only ever do one dunk for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh. I mean, I'll probably just say like a two-hand tomahawk, because like then if you can do a hard two-hand tomahawk, then I can actually still dunk in games. Whereas if, like I said, the only dunk I could do is like an East Bay, I'm never going to dunk in a game again. So yeah, I'd probably say two-hand.
I feel like two-handed tomahawk kind of looks crazy as well. To be honest. Like an in-game as well. Yeah.
Like there's a guy, Anthony Hamilton, like that's his main dunk that he does. He just goes up two-hand tomahawk, and it looks sick. If you can jump really high, it looks good.
We're going to run it back a little bit and kind of talk about what are your aspirations within the world of dunking. So are there specific goals that you have aiming for the future or aspirations?
So before I went to America, I went to dunk camp. I wrote down like 6 months in advance, and I think whatever your goals are in sport or life, whatever, you got to write it down. So I wrote them down. I wish I still had it in front of me. It's probably somewhere in a journal somewhere. But yeah, my goals were to, one, create a community in Melbourne. two, get record above a 45-inch vertical. And one of my other ones were just 360 East Bay, 360 behind the back was I didn't really think I was going to do that one, but put that one down. And yeah, so they were my main goals. And I somehow achieved all of them. So since then I've wrote some new goals, but yeah, I'm kind of moving on from dunking, but that's like a whole nother thing really.
Well, hell yeah. Well, we're gonna wrap it up now. Thank you, Archie, for hopping on. It's incredibly inspiring to hear your story and also hear like what your goals were and that you've achieved your goals as well. And you also gave the people some advice as well, which is always good. But before we wrap up completely, you have the stage. You can say whatever you want to say to the people who are listening. So.
I would say you probably don't know what you're capable of, and I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, thanks to you. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun. Who doesn't like talking about themselves, you know?